Hello and welcome. My name is K Ofori. Thanks for joining me on this video. I recently did a video on the causes of lack of confidence and looking at strategies on how to develop confidence. Today, I want to continue with that series by looking at the fear of failure, what causes that fear, and how we can overcome that fear. So, strategies for dealing with the causes of a fear of failure. I want to start today by asking you a question that what if you were guaranteed, absolutely guaranteed that you could not fail in whatever you wanted to do? What would you do in that under those circumstances? If you knew that whatever it was, if you tried it, there was no chance, no possibility at all that you could fail. Now, if you ask yourself that question and you look at it, you examine that, you would find that in most cases, it is failure that holds us back from doing the right things that can make us successful and set us on the course to achieving our dreams, our passions, and our purpose. There is a saying that fortune favors the brave. And I find it striking that in life, it is not necessarily the cleverest people who are the most successful. There are very ironic instances where people who probably in their school days, throughout their education, they were not exceptionally brilliant. Some were not even brilliant at all. But sometimes people like that end up as huge successes in various aspects of life. Whilst people in their time in school, who were probably almost always at the top of the class, do not end up nearly as successful as the less clever counterparts are. And one of the reasons or the causes of this apparent disparity is the fact that sometimes the clever people, people who seem to know things, are too analytical to the point where it paralyzes them and stops them from taking action. So the fear of failure would stop us from taking the action that we need to take, which would inevitably lead to success. There is a saying that nothing ventured, nothing gained. So the fear of failure might mean that people are not willing in the first place to take the actions that they need to take, which would ultimately result in success. So they will leave things to chance, and under those circumstances, sometimes or in most cases, the results are not too brilliant. I want to very quickly look at some of the popular causes of that fear of failure. Now, one of the most significant and the greatest causes of the fear, the constant and persistent fear of failure, is sometimes and justifiably probably from previous experience. So you may have tried things before and not succeeded, and that might unconsciously restrain you from ever trying again. It makes you reluctant, even if the circumstances have changed, there might still be that reluctance to try again. Now, there is a quote and a saying, but there really in life probably are no things as failures. But it absolutely and entirely depends on your perception of what is perceived to be failure. Failure, according to Henry Ford, is the opportunity to begin again, this time a little bit more intelligently. So the way you perceive previous failed efforts, things, efforts or attempts that do not necessarily give you the results that you want, is to see it as feedback. And there are many people, who have acknowledged things, who have achieved things, in life purely because they were able to take the feedback that previous failed attempts gave. They were able to learn lessons from them and then to progress on the basis of those lessons. A second cause for the lack of faith, the fear of failure, is perfectionism. Perfectionism is when we put unnecessary demands, unjustifiable demands on ourselves to excel in everything that we do. So people who fall into this category would want all their ducks in a row before they start. And it's not just any row, they would want a very perfect straight row before they start anything. This would impact significantly our chances of success because the desire to be perfect might mean that you never ever get to start, because perfection, the state of perfection, is probably an utopia. It's not something that in many cases can be achieved. Anne Lamott says something that is very helpful to this discussion, and I quote, that perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor and the enemy of the people. So in seeking to be perfect, you may be fighting against your own self and then causing yourself to stand still and not to make progress. Another very important cause of the fear of failure is self-doubt and low self-esteem. So when you consistently doubt yourself and your capabilities, it seems to you and you feel like you've got nothing to give, you've got nothing or no capacity to achieve. So that might also put you off trying in the first place. This impacts our chances of success very significantly, and it also affects our self-growth and achievement. Theodore Roosevelt, former American president, says something that believe you can and you are halfway there. So just the mere fact that you believe that you are able to do is a very significant first step to attainment and to achievement in the first place. A fourth cause or the fear of failure is the fear of judgment and rejection. So sometimes, whether justifiably or not, it might sometimes be imagined, it might be from experience. If probably you have been criticized so many times, then that fear that you would be judged, especially if you failed, might mean that you don't try in the first place. So this is also a very major cause of people not progressing, people not starting and initiating things because of that fear that they may fail, that they may be criticized, that they may be rejected, that they may be condemned and then judged. The fear of failure which results as a result of this, the effect of this fear, when we're looking at the judgment or potential judgment, it makes us reluctant to take risks in the first place. Now, Chinese philosopher Confucius says something, that our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time that we fail. So perceived instances of failure are bound to come. But your ability, your genius really lies in your ability and capacity to rise every time that you fail or that you think you fail. Now, let us quickly, having talked about some of the causes of the fear of failure, let us look quickly at some solutions and strategies that we can adopt. The first and a very important strategy that we can adopt to prevent that fear of failure is to cultivate and to develop a growth mindset. Now, that mindset would mean that you embrace any mistakes that you may have made in the past and you look at them as learning opportunities. Opportunities not to repeat them, but to do things differently. A second point or strategy would be to develop persistence and resilience. That spirit of not giving up easily. If you cannot do things, if things seem to be taking time to manifest. The sort of results that you expect are not coming quickly. One way would be to be resilient and to persist. And persistence would, in the end, pay off. Henry Ford says something, and I quote, that the only real mistake in life is the one from which we learn nothing. So even perceived mistakes present us with glorious opportunities to learn and then to make progress. Another strategy that we can adopt is to set realistic, practical goals and expectations, not to make unnecessary demands of ourselves, but to be practical, to be grounded, and to think what is reasonably and realistically possible. We must focus on incremental progress and incremental increases in whatever area that we are looking to make progress, as against drastic, significant, instantaneous progress, which might be unreasonable and beyond our reach, beyond our capabilities. We must learn to celebrate even small achievements. There's a saying that I like so much, that we should remember that 3 steps forward, 2 steps back is still 1 step forward. Ordinarily, if you take 2 steps back, it might look like you are retrogressing. But if you look against the, within the context of probably 3 steps before then, you will still see it as net gain. And that should encourage us, however small. Sometimes it might mean reflecting back into the past, looking at those small wins, and then building on the record of those little wins. Robert Collier says something, that success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. So we will achieve success as a result of our persistent daily habits, not the one-off, big strides that we seek, which are not sustainable anyway. A third strategy that we can adopt to avoid and overcome that fear of failure is to seek support and mentorship, is to seek to align with people who have achieved and succeeded in the areas and the fields that we want to go. We must learn from their experiences, whatever actions, whatever habits that they have developed and persisted in would serve us well if you do the same things. Oprah Winfrey says something, that you should surround yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher. And the converse of that is that you should avoid people who are going to seek to pull you down and then to discourage you, to criticize you, and keep you from making progress. In conclusion, let me encourage you that the only way to get rid of fear is to do something that you've always been afraid of doing. Do it anyway, in spite of your fears. Don't fear failure. Fear being in the exact same position next year as you are now, because you haven't taken the action that you could take, which could make you go 1 step forward and 1 step higher. Well, that is about all that we've got time for. Thank you very much for watching this. If you found this video useful, I will encourage you to subscribe to this channel and to like this video. And I will see you in the next video. But until then, remember that you are enough. You are made for more. You can do it. Only begin. Thank you very much once again. All the best.